Hey everyone, I'm Carrie Pena. Thank you so much for listening to Carrie Pena Reports on iTunes and on Stitcher. And thanks for watching. You can always see our shows on Facebook at Carrie Pena and also on our site, inspiredmedia360.com. Today, I have one of my favorite ladies in studio, Coach Darlene Santore. It's really
That was
Santore,
good.
but I love to give the Italian gist of it. She is an amazing performance coach, a transformational expert, and a speaker. And you're not just any old speaker. You speak to large crowds. And of late, Darlene has been out talking to people about turning pain into purpose. And we want to share some very specific tips with people today because your information is amazing. But first, a little bit about your backstory, Dar, and the kind of pain that you walk through. You had a stroke at the age of 25. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
The irony of that is I'm an occupational therapist by background, and I was working in the hospital taking care of patients who had suffered traumatic brain injury and stroke. And there I was walking in the hospital, and it was all of a sudden the floor flipped upside down, and the floor was the ceiling, and the ceiling was the floor. And I couldn't see, and I couldn't walk, and I didn't know what was going on. And at 25, you're certainly not thinking that you're having a stroke. I thought it was the flu. I thought maybe I had a sinus infection, something. And it kind of passed for a minute where I then was able to see again, and I got myself where I could, make a phone call at the hospital, and it subsided a little bit. And so I thought that that's what it was, that maybe this was just a sinus infection, but then the symptoms keep coming back and then going away. And so when it got really bad within a short time, where I could no longer stand up and walk and was getting very sick, that's when I went into the hospital. And the irony of that, too, is that they misdiagnosed it. And so when they misdiagnosed it, I was bleeding in the brain. And I didn't know I was bleeding until finally I had further follow-up, which is when they found the blood clot. And by that point, it was a little too late. I mean, the blood clot had formed, but I had bled in the brain and then had to live with a blood clot. And to this day, I say that it's gone. But it was one of those things that you never expect something like that to happen to you that will drastically change your life and how you have to live and think about things.
How did that change your life? It really kind of rocked your world.
Well, especially at that time, I was married and we had just bought the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. And I thought that and I'm Italian, so as soon as you get married, you're, expected to have children. But then I couldn't have children from that point, too. So you as a woman too, you feel you're going to be able to have a family, provide a family, and I'm very much a go-getter and a career set, and things change and you have to shift. And I learned quickly what I was teaching my patients. I then had to learn in many ways, from the mental game to the physical game, and then how I was going to persevere and how I was going to reframe things and create a new purpose and go on. And that's what I did.
How did you, because this is so tough when life doesn't go as you thought it was going to go. And you feel like you just get knocked down. And certainly being told at a young age, you're not going to be able to have children when you're expecting to have children. And that's sort of your plan. Mm-hmm. How did you emotionally start to pull yourself back out of that?
It didn't happen right away for me. It was where I'm go from, okay, how do I have to deal with this, and thought that I could hit it head on, and I threw myself into work. And I share this part of this because you don't want to numb pain in certain ways. And for me, it was through work. And it was later, actually a couple years later, when it hit me. And I had gone through a divorce and had gone through dealing with a stroke. I was running major companies, and I decided I was going to start my own practice. But when I actually stopped, that's when it hit me. Everything, from the mistakes I had made, from the trials I had gone through. And for the first time in my life, I had felt what depression had felt like. I couldn't get up. And it was in that time that I started to use, again, the principles that I was teaching people, where I started to talk positivity back into my life, talk purpose in, talk affirmations. I'm strong, I'm healthy, I can, follow my calling. I had a tribe around me that came right about on my side, and, I had my faith. And it was one of those things where my sister walked in and she said, Dar, you've been called to do what you've been called to do. And she's like, you can't serve in this way. You've got to get up and you've got to go do it. And I said, I know. I just can't get up. And It was the next day, though, you look for signs, and a sign had come, and it was a message on my phone, and I got back up and I kept going.
What was the message on your phone?
The message was exactly what my sister said. She said, God did not put you on this earth to isolate or go back to old ways. And I said, I understand that. And then the next day, I had gotten this message from a devotional that comes on my phone only Monday through Friday, and it was Saturday. And it was that exact same message. And I had just prayed at that time, I just, if you're going to help me do what you called me to do, then I need strength to do it. And I got back up and I started going and have never looked back. But it's positivity. It's affirmations. It's putting people around you. It's then focusing on what's ahead, your why, connecting to what is my purpose here, and reframing it, and not thinking about what went wrong, but about what can I do going forward. And that's what I tell everyone.
And I want to break down your tips that you emailed to me, because they're excellent.
Thank you.
You're so real with the way that you try to advise and help people, because you truly want to try to help people transform their lives. I see that. So I love that so much about you. But one interesting thing, Dar, before the show started, I asked you how you got into this space, specifically talking about turning pain into purpose. And you said because there's so many people out there who've been approaching you who are in a tremendous amount of pain. And it varies what it is. It can be, you deal with athletes
Yep.
who go through physical pain, who maybe stop playing and have to reconfigure their lives. Give me some of the other examples, obviously without naming names, but some of the
Sure.
things that have drawn you to this specific practice right now.
It is true. There's so many people hurting in our world right now, and this pain is real. And what's happening is people are going through it, but they don't know how to get through it. How did they get to the other side? I've had people, like you said, from athletes who had career-ending, what season-ending injuries, and working with them, helping them focus on their drive, on who they are, on their leadership, on their purpose of what they're called to do, not only in that sport and bigger, definitely has helped them advance so that they are able to come back stronger, better, and mentally have an edge up. And then there's been people where I have a celebrity stylist, which you would think, around all of that beauty and everything around it, and this person had gone through a very hard time, and she says that here I am around all of this beauty, but I feel so ugly and I feel so much pain inside, and I didn't know how I was going to get back up. And working with her, I've been able to help her with the affirmations about focusing on her purpose, about writing out her plan and then holding her accountable to it, and creating this vision of we're not getting stuck in the past. It's about what we're doing to go forward, and helping her build that confidence that she's just as beautiful. But the pain, whether you're enduring it mentally, physically, or spiritually, doesn't make you feel that way. So you're helping someone reframe how to feel it. And now she's married, just bought a house, and she's on top of her game career-wise.
That has to make you feel so good when someone comes to you at their lowest. And you look at this person and try to really figure out how to sketch a plan to help them turn their life around.
Oh, it's the most rewarding thing. It makes me feel just as if when I was helping someone that went through a traumatic brain injury or stroke where they wanted to give up on life and reclaim their life. It's the same way when you're in the middle of pain, all of the walls are down and authenticity and realness is there. And when you get someone at that real moment and then get on the other side, it's extremely rewarding, and they could feel it. Authenticity and vulnerability breeds a positivity and a new life, a new focus.
I want to talk a little bit about this list now. The first thing on your list is believe in you and your why. Talk to yourself rather than listen to yourself. Say, I am stronger than this. I am brave. I am loved, and I am loved.
I share that a lot. And an author, John Gordon, had written about talking to yourself, not listening to yourself. And I've been able to apply that and help a lot of people because first, it's believing in you. Believing that you have a gift in this world, you have a purpose in this world. And often we feel that, well, what is my purpose? I'm not here to run the country or take over the world. And I say it doesn't have to be that. It just needs to be, how could you show up in your family? How could you show up in your community? How could you show up at your job with the giftings you have? You have a gifting inside you. No one else has that. And that's how we make this world uniquely together, and we unite because everyone starts to put like a puzzle, their pieces together. And when you start to help someone see what that gifting is, it's as if you give them new air. You just took them off cardiac, support, because you're giving them life again and making them see. So you teach them what's the greatness within them, what's their calling, what's their strengths. And then you tell them to start talking to themselves positive, because if we listen, we start to listen to the negative chatter. And that negative chatter takes us right into this rabbit trail, and you get stuck. And that's where I start to say, you hear people, they go put on a sad song when they're sad, and I'm thinking, no, don't go do that. You need to reframe the brain, and you need to trip it and set a new pattern, because you could sit in that pain or you can go forward from it. But it starts by your mindset. So that's why I always start with, I'll find where their greatness is. I'll hone in on that. I'll help them see it so they believe it. But then I teach them mantras and affirmations, which I could even say at first, years ago when I would use this, I'd say, oh boy, But then after doing it over and over, you're telling the subconscious who you are, and you start to believe it. I mean, do you think LeBron thinks that he's not great?
Right.
He believes he's great, and therefore he is great. And then he's had the success to follow it.
Well, and you come at this from a scientific point. I mean, you're not just talking about affirmations and self-help,
right,
which is wonderful.
Right.
And,
right,
you've studied that and you've applied it, but you come from the neurosciences.
Absolutely. You are absolutely reframing and retraining the subconscious. And your brain believes what you tell it. So if you're telling it, I'm no good, my day's going awful, I'm sick, I can't do this, the brain starts to believe it. So if it's going to believe what you tell it, wouldn't you tell it positive things and things that are going to help bring joy and courage and success to your life? So speak it to you. Don't listen to yourself, speak to yourself, speak positivity, and speak affirmations of greatness.
And when you find your purpose, it kind of just clicks. I started this media company, and I love sharing simple stories of people who are doing inspirational things. I love it. It's my passion. And, sometimes some other folks, great people in my field, but who are used to diehard journalism, and I get that. I love that too. They're like, oh, you're telling those soft stories? No, I'm telling stories and sharing stories that I think are stories of the American spirit. And I absolutely live for that, and Shannon, my producer, has been with me the last year as we've built this up, and it's been incredible, and people have responded. It is my purpose, so I feel what you're saying, Dar.
And you light up.
I light up. I mean,
that's
I love
what
it.
happens.
And I love how you said you don't have to be running a country. I bring in people for the show. It can be someone who's just a startup entrepreneur, or someone who's fought breast cancer, someone like yourself who's come back and who now is sharing that gift with others. I mean, those things matter. The second thing on your list is be the victor, not the victim.
Yes.
I love that, because the victim mentality will absolutely take you down.
Oh, it absolutely will. Be the victor. It's the same going and telling yourself positivity, but if you stay in the victim role and you stay there and you keep feeding that monster, that's exactly where life will stay. Yet you could turn around and say, I'm going to use this to fuel me. It's going to become this pain, this challenge, this injury, this life crisis, whatever it may be. You feel it. I'm not saying don't feel it, but once you've felt it, you move on from it and you become the victor, not the victim. Use it as a rock to step on, to build up from, to step up so you can go forward. But to stay in the victim role is never going to serve you. So you want to build a tribe of people, positivity, listen to Carrie, inspired, be inspired. Zig Ziglar says inspiration's like bathing. If you don't do it every day, it won't work. Well, that's why I love this, because inspiration and positivity is going to move you forward. But sitting in the victim role and negativity will only bring you back.
I wish I could be like you and remember all these great quotes. You always have all these great quotes. I need to write them down. Yeah. So the third thing on your list is leave the pain in the past and focus on the future and what's ahead. We hear a lot of talk about that, but gosh, people do get so stuck in their past and they just have a hard time letting that go. A mistake
Right.
or a painful memory.
Right.
It can really weigh on you and prevent you from being your best self.
It does. And the pain is in the past. So let it be in the past. The past is behind you. If you're driving a car and you look back, you can't go forward. So think about it that way. You've got to look forward to the future, to where you're going, to where you want to drive your life to. And so set your eyes on the future so that you could take your life to the next level. But looking back won't serve you. The only reason you even look at that is to learn from it, to grow from it, and maybe not to make the same mistake, or just to use that, like I said, for fuel so you could go forward.
What does it feel like today, knowing that you picked yourself up off the floor with some help from your sister, some encouraging words, and perhaps some divine intervention there? You picked yourself up off the floor, and now you've built up really this incredible empire. I mean, you're speaking to huge crowds. You've written a book, and this is only the beginning. I know you're a go-getter. What does it feel like?
I feel blessed. I feel extremely grateful. I feel grateful because every day I get to do what I love to do, which is helping people awaken their greatness within them. And I get to live out my purpose every day because I don't know if I have tomorrow. We all don't know if we have tomorrow, but I could do something today to live it out. And it seems so... I don't know what the right word would be, but when you could live in your purpose, it's the most fulfilling feeling. So I say I feel fulfilled and grateful and blessed to be able to do what I do.
And being a stroke survivor, this is something that's obviously near and dear to your heart, helping to raise money for awareness about stroke. Because one of the things is people, like you mentioned, you don't always know that you're having a stroke.
No.
And one of the charities I'm involved with is Heartball, and that benefits the American Heart Association, and that's to fight heart attack and stroke.
Yes.
So you're dancing or emceeing in a big event. Tell me quickly about that.
I am emceeing tomorrow. It's called Dancing for Stroke, so it's set up just like Dancing with the Stars, but it's both healthy people dancing with also those that have had strokes, and some of them were told they'd never walk again, and they're going to be up dancing, and it's going to raise awareness for neuro wellness, and that's both from traumatic brain injury, Parkinson's, MS, stroke, and just teaching people to be well and also inspiring them and giving them hope that there is life after pain.
I love it. And that's put on by Dignity Health Foundation.
Yes.
Where can people find out more about you, Dar?
They can go to CoachDar.com. That's my website. And then you could follow along on Instagram or Twitter, and the handle is @TheCoachDar. And then you can go to Facebook to Darlene Santor, but it's Darleen, and then Santor, Santore. And I post inspirational posts, if not every day, every other day, and give you a little pep talk and sometimes videos. So go there to get some inspiration.
I love that video you posted of you walking out on stage, and you were dancing to Eminem.
Yes.
And you were pumped up, a little behind the scenes. I was like, I need to start my next keynote speech just like that.
Bringing it.
Dar, thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for listening and for watching our live stream. You can see the show always on my Facebook page @Carrie Pena or on our site, inspiredmedia360.com. Be sure to subscribe so you stay in close touch with us. We pump out a lot of content, you guys, and I'm trying to send out a lot of inspiration every single day. Today's show produced and engineered by Shannon Hernandez, brought to you by Inspired Media 360. Until next time, stay inspired.